We are back, and I'm here with Dr. Katherine Albrecht of the Dr. and Katherine Albrecht Show from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on the Genesis Communications Network. She's a dynamic radio personality, and she's written 6 books and videos, including the bestseller Spy Chips, How Major Corporations and Government Plan to Track Your Every Move with RFID, and The Spy Chips Threat, Why Christians Should Resist RFID and Electronic Surveillance. So thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Melissa. I'm really happy to be here in Austin. It's a lot of fun to be in Texas right now. A lot of things going on in this state.
A lot of things are going on in this state. And it looks like on Monday you went to a public forum about the RFID.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I love Texas, you guys are the epicenter of a pretty nasty attack that's going on right now, and that is the tagging of school kids with remotely readable radio tracking beacons, literally on tags around their necks. So we've got 4,200 children in the Northside Independent School District, which is one of the poorest, least performing school districts in the state of Texas, down in San Antonio, where essentially the administration has said, we will track you every 25 seconds using reader devices buried in the hidden in the ceiling, and we will make a record all day long of every place that you go. And yesterday, some colleagues, Heather Fazio from Texans for Accountable Government and I, headed over to the vendor, a company called Wade Garcia that manufactures these devices. And we were given a 3-hour interview and tour of their facilities, very small facilities. It sounds like it's a big manufacturing plant. It actually wasn't. During that, we actually got to see, he pulled up, Mike Wade, the creator of this product, pulled up a screen. And I have to tell you, Melissa, it was one of the most frightening things I think I've ever seen in terms of what the future is going to look like. So let me tell you what the future looks like. So each of these children is wearing a battery containing RFID transmitting beacon. It's active RFID. So unlike the other RFID that I've been fighting all these years that doesn't have a battery in it and you have to have a reader to pick it up, this actually transmits a signal. So every 25
it's transmitting
seconds,
a signal all the time.
Yes, so every 25 seconds it sends out a little burst of electromagnetic energy that contains a unique ID signal in it. So it's a unique ID number. This pulse that goes out from these children has anywhere from a 75-foot to a 300-foot read range. So each child is sitting in the center of their own sort of electromagnetic cloud
beacon,
of data.
but they're also getting rained on by the other children they're sitting next to.
Exactly. So the entire school has now become this sort of emitting,
You're just being bathed in energy all the time.
It certainly raises real issues from a health perspective. And actually, let me address this really quickly while we're talking about it. As your viewers may be aware, I am a breast cancer survivor. I went through a very difficult 2-year journey battling breast cancer. And as a result, I am very sensitive just consciously of the sorts of things that affect our bodies and could trigger a cancer to come back or a cancer to start. And so now you've got these girls, and they're between the ages of 12 and 17, who are wearing an electromagnetic beacon literally between their developing breasts that is sending out this pulse every 25 seconds throughout the day. We calculated, I'm trying to remember how many hundreds of thousands of exposures this wound up to be, but it was an immense number. And I have to say that if I had a daughter that was attending that school, that I would be the very first person to say there's no possible way. Even if we don't have absolute definitive evidence that this technology causes cancer, we do have some evidence that seems to indicate that. We also have, other studies say it has no health effects. So the reality, we don't know. And the idea of using young girls as guinea pigs and to find out 10, 20, 30 years down the road that an entire school or an entire district developed breast cancer because of this exposure would be a horrifying outcome. So it's not just the microchips sending out these beacons, but when I talk about this horrifying vision of the future, what we were able to see on the screen was a blueprint, a map, if you would, of the school. And there were so many schools doing this. This is schools in the Spring Independent School District down in Houston that I was not even aware were rigged with this technology.
I wasn't aware of that either.
He pulled down a menu, and there was school after school, alphabetically. Like, when he pulled down the menu, you could only see the A's and B's.
Wow.
That's how many schools are doing this. So he pulls this down, and he clicks on just a random school, and then the blueprint of the school comes up on the screen. And in this blueprint, what you see is the picture of the school, and then circles. And each of the circles inside of it contains 2 boxes, which is a number of students in that circle and a number of staff in that circle. So there might be like an 8 and a 15, or a 2 and a 1. When you click that, it gives you the names of the people that are physically located in that, within that circle. Now, he's doing this from Texas, from San Antonio, looking at schools that are hundreds of miles away from this kind of command center.
And we should all trust him to be okay with that information.
He developed a program, so I'm not sure how trustworthy that is. But as he pulls it down, you could then pick any one of the names and click it, and then bring up that person's picture and their name and all of their personal information and their student ID number, and you now know exactly who's in that circle.
So you're turning a school into an electronic concentration camp,
It
basically.
is, and what's fascinating about it is I've never actually seen a system for tracking and tagging people that worked that seamlessly. I've seen a lot of systems that make efforts to try to tie in video cameras and do various things, but I've never actually seen in real life a system that does track people in that way. So as we were leaving, just driving through the streets of San Antonio, we stopped at a traffic light. You know, they have the cameras now at the traffic lights, which 10 years ago was horrifying in and of itself. And I thought to myself, all they're going to need to do is get each of us to agree to carry or wear something like that. And then they're going to be able to do that. The police or the FBI, the federal government, would be able to log into a control center, just like he did, and pull down from the menu Austin, Texas, and then pull down from the menu your street, and then pull down from the menu your home.
Oh, gosh,
and actually
horrifying.
determine who's in your home, or who is at the traffic light, or who is fill in the blank. So it's the ability to do that is here. And the only thing standing between us, and this is why I'm such a big fan of Infowars, the work that you do, Melissa, the work that Alex does, because the only thing standing between us in that future is the fact that people will say no. So right now in San Antonio, I flew out to attend a community forum put together by Heather Fazio from Texans for Accountable Government, and we had probably 70 members of the community come out and say, we don't like this, we don't want to be part of it. I then went in the evening over to the school board meeting to actually talk to the school board.
Did the school go to the forum?
Well, they did not. I had called them. I invited their superintendent to attend. I invited members of the board to attend. Heather invited everyone to attend. They said, no, as far as we're concerned, it's done.
Oh, good.
So they don't want input any longer. So as far as they're concerned, it's done. That was the one piece of feedback. And even the vendor, said he got sick at the last minute, couldn't come. So it was really just people on the opposition side, when we made every effort to try to give them an opportunity and a forum to give their side.
Well, his product is so wonderful. Why wouldn't he want to come and talk about its merits?
Yeah, you kind of wanted. Well, he did invite us in to tell us all about its merits, and we captured all that on video. So that should be interesting. But when the city council meeting took place, and it came time for the public comments, the community comments, and my name was on the list. I had gotten in early enough to have my name on the list to speak. And the president of the school board said, "Is Ms. Albrecht, Mrs. Albrecht, Miss Albrecht, are you around?" And I kind of went, "Here I am." And I smiled, and she stuttered and stammered. We have this on video, and she said, "You're not going to be allowed to speak today."
Really? Yeah. See, that's interesting, because I was there for a protest as well earlier on in this fight, and it was probably 20 community members who showed up specifically to talk about this issue. And the school board did all this other stuff. They played videos how great they are. They were giving awards to the police.
I
mean, it was like this pageantry about how wonderful the school district is. And then it came to the actual issues, and they're like, well, we've decided as per the rules we just pulled out of this book over here in the corner that we're only going to let 3 people talk for 5 minutes. And then they started curbing people's 5 minutes, and it was amazing. I've never seen
what I thought was it was really a show of weakness, I think, on their part, and of them feeling intimidated, because I had come in on Friday. I flew to D.C. and I met with the folks from EPIC, the Electronic Privacy Information Center, and from EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, all the privacy groups, the ACLU. We all got together on Friday, and we have a coalition paper against it. We formed a coalition. We've got a position paper against this, and they said, we've got to get these answers about the program. Are they using fair information practices? What kind of security is being used on the data? Is it opt-in or opt-out? Can parents say no to this? So they had a series of questions. And the reason I had gone to the board meeting to speak my little 3 minutes, they didn't even give me my 3 minutes, was simply to say, I'm here representing this broad coalition of well-respected international authorities on issues of privacy and civil liberties. And I myself have a doctorate in education from Harvard University. I didn't say this to them, but my educational attainments trump those of every person in that room. And that's
sure that they do.
That is a school board.
Exactly.
And, you know, having a doctorate in education is useless when you're fighting Walmart, but it's actually kind of helpful when you're fighting a school board.
An actual school.
So all I wanted to do was say I'm here, I'm available. If you have any questions about why there's concerns about this program, I want to make myself available to answer them. And they wouldn't even let me get up and do that.
They wouldn't even let you talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rights end when you enter the school property there. That's pretty much what I've gotten from it any time that I've been there.
They've said that. They've come out and said that you have no privacy. You give up your privacy on campus. You give up your freedoms. That you as a student in a government school do not have any rights.
And I actually went to the Northside ISD's Smart Student ID Card website, which doesn't actually say anything at all on there anywhere about ill health effects. But I know in the past you've actually been interviewed for different articles about how pets that were microchipped were getting huge tumors.
Yeah, that's an interesting issue. And to be honest, I am not really sure whether these things are dangerous for health or not. I know that as a breast cancer survivor, I would never put one around my neck in the same way that I wouldn't hold my cell phone up to my chest. I mean, there's certain things that just are common sense.
Well, in the absence of knowledge.
Absolutely. But it really was the health issues that put an end to human chipping in the U.S. because back in 2006, it came to our notice, a woman named Jeannie, whose bulldog Leon had developed a fast-growing tumor around his microchip, did a whole bunch of research and discovered that there was a whole cache of articles that had been published in toxicology journals and like obscure chemistry journals and obscure biology journals that the animals that they were microchipping for laboratory studies were developing cancer around the microchips. So what happens in a laboratory, you'll have 100 mice and you'll decide that you're going to have a control group of 50 that just are normal, and then your other 50 are going to get some sort of experimental drug or intervention, and then you see what happens. What they discovered, though, was that they were microchipping all 100 mice so that they could easily scan them and identify which mouse was in which group, but the ones that received the chemicals were getting cancer around the chips, and then they looked and discovered that the ones that hadn't had anything done to them but the chipping were getting cancer around the chips too. And even though it wasn't what they set out to study, the findings were so significant and were messing up their research so badly that they began publishing these articles. So there was a whole series of them, half a dozen or even more, and in every one of them they said that the microchip was the cause of the cancer that they were seeing.
Wow.
And these are cancer researchers. That's what they do.
That's what they do,
get down into the microscopic level and take a look at what cellular change occurred around the microchip that was causing the cancer. So when we revealed that information in 2006, 2007, we actually were able to put an end to the microchipping of humans. And it was really around that health issue. At that time, Blue Cross Blue Shield was implanting patients. They actually had a trial with diabetic patients that were receiving microchips to manage their electronic health records in the event that they went into a coma or went unconscious. And
well, it's always how it begins. It's to help you, right? It's
absolutely.
Always, this is going to help you. It's good technology.
With tanks and guns. They come and say, "Oh, it'll be more convenient. It'll be safer." And of course, when people are frightened, fear is a great way to get people to give up their liberties.
Exactly.
So it was. We have on pretty good authority that the people who were in that trial actually had their chips removed.
Wow.
So now it remains to be seen whether it's going to be a health issue that puts it into this, a security risk that puts it into it. The real scary part to me is not even the health issue. It's the fact that when these kids leave campus, they're beaming out that unique ID number at a huge swath of distance. So any predator that is able to pick up the
Heather
signal
Fazio had talked about that,
is able to
you can buy those trackers, right?
Stand
you can get them like on
outside
eBay.
A child's home. Yes, stand outside a child's home and identify whether the child is home, look in the driveway and see that there's no car there, know that the child's home alone.
That's horrifying.
I mean, it's truly frightening.
Yeah, Heather was able to actually do a FOIA request and get a list of all the names of the kids from the Northside ISD in that request.
Yeah.
And so she was talking about, I had read that if you just pair that up with buying an RFID tracker, there you go. I mean, it's horrifying, the implications.